What's up, everybody? This is an unexpected talking shit episode of Unbothered by Ty Rivera. Ty Rivera is kind of bothered right now, so he's doing a special episode. This is, again, coming to you from high atop Ty Rivera Studios, a.k.a. Casa de Bijou. I have the perfect guest for talking shit today. This is my Snapchat buddy, Mr. Aaron Michael Marsh.
How you guys doing? Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, of course. For those of you that don't know, Aaron Michael Marsh has been doing comedy for about 5 years now.
Correct.
He's from Tucson, Arizona.
Also correct.
He hits a lot of the spots on the grind, and we talk a lot of shit through text. It's kind of a burn book.
It is kind of a burn book.
I don't
I
really
want to apologize for Quincy Jones because he's also my burn book. Like the two of you guys, which Quincy said, he's like, if those text messages ever leak, you're fucked.
Oh, yeah, well, it's same with me and you. Our
Yeah.
text messages are so. But, like, the best thing about me, I'll say, is that anything that I haven't said directly to somebody is only to spare their feelings. So I don't care if they find out. There's no, like, for me, there's no consequence where I feel like, ooh, if they ever found that out, I'd be in so much trouble. I'm just like, yeah, well, I hadn't intended you to hear that from someone else, but I guess it's just as well. It's
What's
true.
funny is I thought you were going to say, whatever they didn't say to that person to their face, I've said publicly. And so everyone knows what you feel about everything. To where I have not said very many public hateable things.
Yeah, but see, the thing with me is I very rarely talk shit about anybody that I haven't been up front with already. Like,
True.
you know, so that it can't be like, nobody's ever like, you know, I had no idea that he was feeling this way or whatever. I don't hold on to things. It either happened right before and that's why we're dealing with it, or we've been friends and you knew it was coming, you know?
That's true. And I don't feel like I act fake to anybody. At no point am I like super nice to somebody and then turn around and be like, that guy's a dick.
Yeah, that's what I don't get. And like I told you earlier, like I know that people talk shit about me. I expect that every friend I have talks a little bit of shit about me just because, you know, and they put it in nicer ways or whatever because they're my friends. But they will be like, you know, yeah, he's a little bit of an asshole, or he's like, these are just things that are true.
Well,
And
you
I
have a
don't
lot
mind-
of opinions. And if anybody agreed with all of them, they would be you. Like, that's it. Like, you have too many opinions for someone to agree with all of them about.
Oh, and I know that, and I don't even want people to agree with me. Like my friends, I don't care if they don't agree. I mean, like most of my friends are different. Like one person that I would like to have on the podcast that'll probably never come on is my friend Alicia Wood, and she lives in
Seattle.
Yeah,
Yeah, I met her up there. She's great.
she's a great comic and funny and a feminist, and sometimes she'll hit me up by text over something I post on social media, and we'll be like, you know, let's go further into this. Like, what makes you say this? And like, we have conversations, and like, she'll ask me a lot of questions, and I'll ask her questions back, and we'll go back and forth a bit, and it'll get, I guess, what you could call text heated. You know what I mean? Where we're just sort of like, well, what about this? Well, what about that? And but like, at the end of it, we're friends, and we both feel however we feel, and that's just what it is. Nobody has to convince anybody. It's just we've both been hurt, and it's great.
And that's what I like about my friendship with you is that we can have an argument. You just want to have a good, well-thought-out argument.
Yeah, I don't care if you. I'm not here to convince anybody of anything.
No, and I would say I pry into some of your bullshit sometimes, specifically just to be like, well, how did you come to this conclusion?
Yeah.
Where did this come from, Ty? You know, like, and you will sit there and explain it out.
Yeah, and sometimes part of it's just my fun thinking. Like, you know, I've been very open with people about one of the reasons that I'm voting for Donald Trump is because he entertains me. Like, that's really what it is.
Sure.
I'm entertained, and I don't care about the rest of the country. And they're like, I'm so scared this is going to happen. I'm so scared that's going to... I don't care about anything that scares you. I mean, you sound... A lot of these people that say this stuff sound like the people that are scared to leave their houses. So I'm not going to change my life because scared people are scared. That's what scared people do. They be scared.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you vote for the Joker? He's very funny, very charming.
No, none of them. And I'm going to get, that's probably the most controversial statement I'll make on this podcast.
You would vote for none of the Batman villains?
None of the Jokers.
Oh, like out of all the different kinds of Jokers that we've had?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they're definitely more entertaining than almost all of our politicians. Did you vote for Obama?
Oh, yeah. I was all about Obama. I've talked about that on podcasts, too. I don't believe in party loyalty. I really don't. And I know some people will get mad at me for saying that, like friends that are on the conservative side and like, but I just don't believe in it. I think that the way I'll do things for my life is I'll go with whoever appeals to me at that time. Barack Obama did seem, have good ideas, and he could give a speech, which I got to admit, that's a lot of what won me over is the way he could give a speech. I was like, yeah, I just like listening to this man talk. So maybe it comes down to entertainment with him too, in a sense.
That's why I asked, because he's entertaining, but you also told me before the podcast that you've lost interest in him.
I've gotten tired of him. I just don't. Everybody, I think, because everybody acts like everything he does is so cute or so great, and it's like, you guys, can we just act normal? And then when they were trying to sell him on, like, when women get like, oh my God, he's so good looking, it's like, no. If Barack Obama had a regular everyday job, nobody would be trying to fuck him like that, or like nobody would be. He's just not, and it's nothing against him. He's a regular looking guy, but he's just not that guy that everybody's like, oh, I gotta have some of that. Let's be honest. So that's
compared to the other
lose.
presidents. It's like when there's a good-looking comedian, we're like, that guy's so good-looking for a comedian. Barack Obama is that for president.
Yeah, or like when people say a young doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
It's usually not young by regular standards. It's like, oh, a young doctor.
Yeah, I would be a young doctor, but I'm not a young person anymore.
Yeah, like Doogie Howser was truly a young doctor, but there haven't been. So
He's also
anyway,
fictional.
Aaron, I guess we've got to talk. You know what? Don't ruin my fucking Doogie fantasy, all right?
All right.
Just joking. I was never into Doogie. When everybody was
Really?
so excited that Neil Patrick Harris came out of the closet and they were like, oh my God, I had such a crush on Doogie when I was young. I had never had a crush on Doogie.
But what about Neil Patrick Harris as an adult?
I think he's a good-looking man, but I wouldn't say I have a crush on him, or I've never had looked at him and been. I've seen pictures where I'm like, wow, he looks really good in that.
I've had a man crush on him.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I get that.
Okay, so the big drama of right now.
The big drama of right now.
Did you want to explain it?
Okay. There's a comic that I had on the podcast 2 episodes ago that was singing my praises.
He's still singing a song about you.
He was singing my praises, and always, see, this is the thing that gets me about people. A lot of people to my face will continuously tell me how great they think I am and how much they like what I do, and that they may not agree with everything, but they definitely do like that I have an opinion. And these are the things people say when they're blowing smoke up my ass, right? So then, out of nowhere, a lot of times, I'll end up finding out that these people have bitter feelings towards me. Because they'll end up posting something shady on Facebook, and then I'll get shady back. And then right away, they usually try to concede, which was exactly what happened in this situation. Because, you can't be a cunt to me and then get mad because I'm better at being a cunt when I go back at you, which is what happened with this situation on Facebook. And it's a comic by the name of Tamra. I think I won World Series of Comedy in 2013, and he won in 2014, I think is what happened, which is just a little bit of extra information for everybody. I want to... okay, so what happened was I got in an argument with Tamra on Facebook the other day. It was about some Trump shit. Really, it was about...
Private message or status?
It was on a status that he put up. And really, I was just being a smart ass at first. And then he, tried to get a little bit personal about it, which I don't mind if you want to get a little bit personal, but just be prepared to hear my personal thoughts on you. That's all that has to happen. You can't suddenly be like, oh, I'm crossing a line. I'm crossing a line. You're the one that got us across this line in the first place. As far as I'm concerned, you crossed us both over the line, and now I'm just better when we're on this side of the line. Because now I don't have to pretend to be nice. I don't have to pretend to be anything, which I usually don't pretend. But there is a part of me that does put up with, when I'm dealing with people in a stand-up setting, I'm willing to accept that people on stage will give a different version of themselves in some cases. It's the way they entertain. But me, I'm a very all the time me person. Whether I'm on stage or off stage, I'm the same guy. So I guess the reason I commented on his Trump post, because it was something about how, he was doing some show for anti-Trump, which doesn't bother me because I'm not into politics like that, where I'm going to be screaming in people's faces or like, oh, you support Hillary? Fuck you. It's not that kind of situation. So I'm cool. I was cool with that, but then it was like this sappy story about how this girl gave him an upgrade at his hotel, and he was like, I'm not even a member. And then she was like, shh, and like, basically like, because he was doing an anti-Trump thing and he had mentioned that. So this sappy, fake-sounding story, which might have been true, but it sounds really fake, and it sounds like the rest of his narrative. Like everything he does in stand-up lately, it's like this very like, I just feel like Trump is a lot like my relationship with drugs and this kind of stuff. So he's talking about how he's clean now or whatever else, which clean does not include marijuana, which we smoked marijuana together last time we were together. So since you're so clean, let's make sure we mention that because never mind. But like so let's
Well,
start off.
it's been mentioned.
There's several lies that have gotten on my nerves in this situation, and one of them gets mentioned. Anyway, so what happened is we got in this argument, me and Tamara on Facebook. It escalated. Then he ended up blocking me, is what happened. And then just right now, I got a text message from a friend saying, whoa, I thought you were friends with Tamara. And then I was like, I am. I just had to check him the other day on Facebook. And then my friend was like, well, did you see the status? And I was like, what status? And then I put you on the case.
Mm-hmm. And I looked it up.
Because he blocked me. I will repeat, he blocked me. That's the reason I couldn't check it myself. And this is what the actual status update says.
All right. Tamara's status reads, Ty Rivera, you love to attack women, gay, and new comics online. No insults here. No online fighting. Roast battle me at the Comedy Store. I dare you. If you're his fan, share this with him. His cowardly ass blocked me.
Yeah. Right there, starting off with the lie.
Can I... Well, let's break this down
Let's
together.
take it apart. I'm
okay,
happy to.
so his cowardly ass blocked me. We'll break that down to he blocked you.
He did block me, and that's a matter of fact. And the way I'm going to prove this for everybody is I'm going to post all of my blocked people on. I'll post it on my website, just in the blog part. It'll be marked. It's the only thing that's going to be there. I haven't blogged in forever.
Yeah, he showed me the block, and I gotta say, some of your friends were on there. People I thought they weren't blocked.
Well, that's going to be a fun part of the situation because then people can hit me up
People
and
are
ask
gonna
why I
reveal-
blocked
exactly.
certain people and that kind of stuff. So
I want to know how many people are like, "Hey, wait, I didn't even know you blocked me."
Yeah, I have no.
Thanks.
Everybody that I blocked knows I blocked them because well, let me see.
You send a warning shot.
Well, because I just unfollow people if I don't like their posts, so I don't have to block them. It's only if they bother me that I block them, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not dealing with you. Like, if I think you're a stupid person or you don't have good arguments or you're just, like, in the way for nothing, I'm like, yeah, you're getting blocked. And that's something I definitely do warn people about.
Okay, it's nice that he says if you're his fan, share this with him. He would think that fans would reach out before friends. So that's almost a compliment. My question to you about roast battle is, before even Tamara Katan, would you want to roast battle anybody?
I would roast battle somebody that I truly did respect and knew some stuff about. Because the thing is, the way that it really is supposed to work with roasting, I mean, Jeff Ross says it all the time.
Yeah, you only roast the ones you love.
Yeah, and that also will show in a lot of the battles. Like the battles that I haven't liked, a lot of times it's people that don't know each other. They don't know each other outside of stand-up, and so they go meet at like a coffee house or whatever, and they'll like exchange secrets. But this is all information you're supposed to accumulate over a friendship with people. Like that's the history of roasting, So then things about you.
That's true. That's why they have friends on the roast board when people actually do those Comedy Central roasts.
Yeah, and like especially because Comedy Central is cool and they're great. I'm not saying anything about them. I mean about the roast battle. I love the roast at Comedy Central. But the thing is, like the old school version was like Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra and these people that all knew each other and kind of knew the dirt so that they could.
Oh, that's what made it so fun. Is because who can make fun of Frank but his friends, and only his friends.
And I realize that there aren't a lot of people that I know like that. Well, I do, but they're spread out across the country, like Chris Storin or like comics that I started off with that I have that relationship with. That it could be like a fun in the spirit of the roast type of thing, and I don't have to go to a coffee house because I don't want to go to a coffee house with a stranger and learn about them or hear any of their shit or tell them mine. I mean, like, that's just not something I'm going to do. I don't mind telling people about my life in conversation, but like giving you, like, oh, this is juicy from when I was young. It's like, fuck off. Why would
So
I
you
do that?
would roast battle somebody.
I would roast battle somebody. And if I didn't know them, like, if I just respected them and was like, yeah, I'd like to do it, then I would meet them for the coffee or whatever, and we'd just have a regular chat and learn about each other. I wouldn't necessarily, I'd give them as much as they need, or I'd be cool, but
Yeah, sure. All right. Would you be interested in roast battling Tamara Katan?
not at all. I don't respect him. When I met Tamara, he was a bringer, and I was headlining the bringer. I was being paid, and so anybody that doesn't know, a bringer is where you have to bring a certain amount of comics. I mean, a certain amount of audience, like 5 audience members a lot of times is the number that they want. And I was headlining the show. Tamara was a bringer. I got paid to be there. Tamara was a bringer. And that's still what I think of Tamara. Like, he's cool and he's done some stuff, but I really do think of him still in that bringer vein. And what he does is very typical of what a bringer does. Like, I'll probably post a clip on my website as well for people to watch. It's very, like the other night when we were arguing on Facebook, I compared him to a drum machine. I just don't think he has any feeling in what he does. It's all very contrived. I mean, like, people know that I lose it with emotion sometimes on stage. So, I mean, like, I don't even respect him as a comic in that way. Like, yeah, you're a comic that works or whatever, but I don't respect you as, like, a real, like, coming from the soul person, like a lot of the guys I know out there. And this doesn't have anything to do with level or, how long you've been doing it. It's just some people come from that real, very real place, and some people don't. Like, I mention a lot of people, or I mention the same people kind of a lot on my podcast. 2 of the names that always come up are Jamar Neighbors and Damar Randy. And those guys really come from a different
those
place.
guys.
Yeah, and they come from a very real place. Even when they're doing outlandish stuff, or it's just a bit, it's still, you can feel something different in there. Where with Tamara, it just doesn't feel real to me. It feels very like, oh, I wrote this, let me deliver it in the, and it's lies. And it, like, I really do just feel that way about, like, especially now, because I hate when people lie about me, and I have no reason not to say the truth, is what a lot of people don't understand about me. There's no consequence to me just telling the truth. If I had blocked Tamara, I would just say I blocked him. But why would I block him when I was winning in the argument? I mean, like, I was fucking demolishing him and this girl, and I was being very blunt about it because I wasn't in the mood for it. I thought I was just going to make a couple fun quips and then it would be over. And then he tried to go for the jugular in his very weak way. And, like, the stuff he said was, like, from another post of mine, about, like, growing up in Arizona and that kind of stuff. And the way he even portrayed me in his, like, kind of put down, it was like, yeah, that's not who I am at all. So I don't know why you're trying. So then I went after him in a very logical way, just, like, letting him know that, I don't really think anything of him. Like,
Would you wanted to battle him 2 weeks ago?
no. And the other thing that bothers me is he said about, like, I'm what to women?
Let me reopen this. You attack women. You love to attack women, gay and new comics online.
Yeah, I don't love to attack women. I just don't mind attacking them online if they come after me. I'm not going to act like you're some protected class if you come at me with words. That's what we're doing, is words. It's not like anybody's getting assaulted. It's not like anybody is getting threatened. Everybody knows that that's not my style. That's not even the way I come at it. Like, I don't get this angry about those things, like, where I'm, like, wanting to fight people or whatever. To me, Facebook is fun and it's silly. And even when I get into it with people and really go after them, I'm just like, whatever. I don't fucking care. It's when people start getting all serious with me that I'm like, now you're boring. Because you really are, like, only emotion right now. There's nothing clever coming out of you. There's nothing. And that's why he blocked me on Facebook, because I really was just technically kicking his ass on this fucking thread, being a dumb asshole like I am, and I know it bothers some people, especially when they're a bit more on the educated side and they have this, like, smart way they want to come at it, this takedown that they have planned, and I'm just like, yeah, I think you're fucking, I don't think you're really fucking legit. I think you're, like, basically, he's got a background in marketing and advertising, and that shows in his act. And if we were friends, I would not mention it. I'd just be like, whatever on that. But like when we're not friends, I can definitely. Well, even when we're friends, if you were to ask me, if he were to ever ask me like what I thought of his act, like serious critique, so he could get better, that's what I would tell him. I would tell him to learn to be a little more real. That's what gets my attention. Like I watch him and I kind of roll my eyes when he goes on because it's all this very, like I said, it's an angle is what it is, and that's what a lot of people don't get about me. Like I get called contrarian every once in a while, and I hate when people call me contrarian. I think it's so insulting, only because that means that I'm going against the grain just for the sake of it. Like these are all my thoughts. Like this is just the way I think. That's why I'm all over the place. That's why people, can't really pin me down to like I think one way. And like people do come after me every once in a while because I'll talk shit to women, but my thing is like if you're a comic, you're not even a woman anymore, you're a comic. Just like me, I'm not a gay man. I don't always go to the like, how dare you talk to a gay man like that, you homophobe. It's like, no, we're just comics going at it right now. Or, maybe you claim to be a comic and you're not really. You've got too many regular people feelings left in you.
Yeah, not everybody's dead inside yet.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say I'm dead inside. I'm actually a very loving person, and I think most people, through not only the podcast but dealing with me in real life, are really seeing that right now. Like, that's not what I'm at. That's why it gets on my nerves when people aren't genuine, when people lie about me, when people misrepresent things. The truth is, Tamara Katan also has my phone number, so if you wanted to challenge me to a roast battle, no insults, no all that fucking shit, why don't you just fucking text me? If you're coming at it in a respectful way, but you wanted to throw in words like cowardly, cowardly when you blocked me, I'm the cowardly one for you blocking me. Okay, that makes sense. You're cowardly and you're dishonest. You blocked me and you lied about it.
I think this is the most unbothered you've been on your whole podcast. The most bothered. Like this is.
Well, it's just because it just happened, and I really am. That's one thing I hate about what people do with me, is people lie about me all the time. And it is like, why are you lying about me? Like, I'm enough of an asshole that you can just tell the regular story exactly the way it went and make me sound just as bad, if not worse. But you don't want to admit that basically you got fucked up in an argument, and that's why you had to block me. And I'm just tired of people lying about me and making it seem like I'm a way that I'm not. And then like acting like it's some sort of challenge. Like I would want to go on roast battle with you. I know that they respect me at roast battle. I know what everybody thinks of me over there. And everybody knows I'm good at talking shit. So it's going to be a good show no matter who I go up against, when I go up against somebody. But the other thing people have to remember is this is a business for me. I'm not just trying to help people jump ahead. Like, if I can do roast battle and have it jump me ahead, then that's great. So I go against somebody that's either higher than me or same level, and we create this fever and make it fucking happen in an actual thing. Not some of these bum-ass fucking main events that you see where it's like, not to be mean, I love roast battle, and I love a lot of roast battle, but there's a lot of fucking shitty main events where the match just before it fucking rocks it, and then the main event can't do it. It's like, you gotta think about these things in a career way at the same time. It's like, roast battle is a hot show. And I've got an actual fucking reputation, not from doing fucking bringers. I mean, like, technically, winning World Series of Comedy was one of the lowlights of my career. I think that's the biggest thing Tamara's done. And I'm not even being an asshole. I just think, but yeah, Comedy Central was beneath roast battle. I mean, it was beneath fucking World Series of Comedy. I didn't feel like I had really done anything until I won World Series.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, can I get you to name a name that you would go up against in a roast battle?
My friend Chris Doran, he's in the Bay, and he's a funny guy. I'm sure there's other people I would go up against.
I have a name in my head right now.
What's the name?
Earl Skakel.
I love Earl Skakel, and I don't know that I could see anything wrong with Earl Skakel.
So it'd be like, I don't know how you'd put the jokes together?
Yeah.
Because I know you guys both have a love for each other.
Yeah, but
and he always delivers.
Well, I know that. I know. I'm not worried about Earl in this situation. I'll be honest about that. I'm not worried about Earl in this situation, but just like everything I know about Earl, I like, and he's good, and he helped me when I was first starting out. Earl was like used to drop me hot tips all the time. I talked about it on his podcast, I think. But yeah, I mean, like, so I don't know. Bruce Jingles might be fun, just because I really love him and he talks a lot of shit. And we both talk a lot of shit to each other, like when we would do the road together. Bruce Jingles
Yeah.
is somebody I'd consider. Then other than that, like if people offered me, I think the other thing is people, in order to get me to do something like that, because for me, that's supposed to be fun. Like
Yeah.
no matter who wins, whatever, it is supposed to be fun. So you got to come to me in a respectful way, because if you're disrespectful out of the gate, like everybody has been so far that's challenged me, even this is disrespectful. I mean, like, you're saying you, because Tamara also posted a screenshot of my Stanford rape post, which is something I use as one of the default picks for one of my, what's it called? My podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's not like a secret that it's that's.
Well, no, you talked
a
about it on the
post.
podcast
Yeah, I
in
talked
detail.
about it. And then, you know, Tamara didn't do my podcast till July. That post was from June 6th or something like that. So you knew that in July when you showed up acting fake at my podcast, which is one of the things I didn't like about having him on the podcast. Now I can be honest about this too. Like as soon as he left, technically I had told Zach Elkin. Zach Elkin tell you this. I haven't talked to him, you know, in the last couple of days or whatever. But yeah, Zach Elk will tell you that I mentioned that Tamara was one of the least entertaining and the least fun I had, because he was trying to do that kind of morning radio type shit, and I felt like this is a podcast. Stop with all the energy and the like. And then also, like, we had smoked weed right before, and he was acting weird about that, which was annoying. At a point when we were in the office, because we used to do the podcast at an office, at a point when we were in the office, he was like, I just feel like I'm high and everybody knows it. And I was like, I just feel like I'm an adult and nobody's worried about whether or not I'm high.
Yeah, no, there's a truth to that.
And it came
So-
through on the podcast where it was this weird, like, you know, he was high and also trying, like, I don't want anybody on the podcast that's really thinking about what they're going to say. Like, he's more like, you know, let me make sure I come at the right angle. I don't care if there's certain things that people don't like to talk about or don't want to talk about. That's cool. But, like, when you're trying to come at it from, like, this political type of, like, let me say, I make sure I say the right things in the right way, I don't have any interest in it. It's fake to me.
So you felt he was more here to represent his brand?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was. That's definitely what he was doing, and I was more like chat, and we could even talk about politics. But there's no way to have a real conversation with somebody about that kind of stuff when they're putting up that fake, like, this is what I say. I like to talk to people, like my friends, no matter which side of it they're on. I like to talk to them more in like the gritty way. Like, you know, if I say something that sounds kind of off, I just said that, and if you want me to explain it, I'll explain it. But we're not going to talk about the words I use as far as, like, you know, don't use these particular terms or
Which
say
is-
it this way.
When I read that, I think I said to you right after I read it, was the thing that confuses me about this post is, as your friend, when I have read statuses of yours in the past where I'm like, well, that kind of doesn't add up, I text you and ask you to explain yourself, and you always do.
Yeah.
Really fast. Like the Trump, when you first really pushing like that you've chosen Trump and he's your guy,
Uh-huh.
I made you explain why. And I didn't try to convince you of what I thought. I was just trying to figure out where you were coming from.
Yeah.
And it does confuse me for him to get mad this late after this thing was posted.
Well, I've been a horrible person all along. You know what I mean? Like, this just started to bother you.
That's also something I said. It's like, how long has he known you?
Exactly.
It's been 4 or 5 years, and you've been the same person that I've known that whole time.
Yeah, he hung out with me in Vegas when I was. He came to watch the show that I was on in Vegas. I was doing Stratosphere, and he was working Laugh Factory, and we hung out that night, and we talked about, you know, Trump and different stuff, and like, it's whatever. Like, I have a sense of humor about all that stuff. I don't care. Like, these people get so, like, caught up on these dumb things, and they don't understand that I don't care. Like, there was a point in the night where he leaned over to me, and he was like, okay, I can take you voting for Trump, but please don't tell me you believe in God. And I just started laughing really hard because, like, to me, like, maybe he was trying to rib me or whatever, but to me, it was just really funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't. Everybody knows I have Jesus tattoo, and I definitely believe in God. But when people joke like that, I didn't get it all offended or feel like it was, you know, I just started laughing really hard because it was such a ridiculous statement, or like, you know.
Well, yeah, we all take our separate path. I don't feel like you represent me in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I could see that.
And vice versa.
As I look you up and down in a catty way.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
so sorry.
You guys missed
I
that look
didn't
of like, yeah, I do not represent you. Correct. But that's ridiculous. I mean, that's what part of what the friendship is between your friendships. I imagine just because I only know of our friendship, I can't speak for you for other friendships. Is that we do represent very different things, but we get along. We find a way to get along, and that's what makes it fun and interesting.
Yeah, well, you both have your fun talking about your stance on different things, in my opinion, the way friendship works. And then you go back to concentrating on the stuff that you guys agree on.
Do you think you could go back to being friends with Tamara? Like if he was like, "Hey, I was heated, but can we talk this out?"
Well, I was never really friends with Tamara in the first place. Like, we were friendly, we work, we're cool. I considered him, I guess, a casual friend, but we weren't really friends. And once something like that happens, I don't want to be friends with people. Like, once I know that you'll lie about me, because Eric Marino was just mad at me about this the other day
Earlier
because,
today.
yeah, because, my thing with Leslie is, at the base of it, she lied about me. And he doesn't think that's that big of a deal. And I think it is a big deal when somebody lies about you. If you just lied to me about something that doesn't matter, like you maybe were escaped one of the buildings at 9/11.
No specific comic name.
That's not my business. I don't care. Like, if that happened, and I don't judge you for it at all. That's all I could come up with, and I knew when I was saying it. But at the same time, it's perfect.
You could see the spark in your eye when you thought of it. There was the searching, loading, and then it was ding.
Yeah, I don't care about that. I don't. I don't concern myself with a lot of things. Like, I'm friends with Adam Richman. Some people don't like Adam Richman. I'm friends with Adam Richman. I know the accusations that have been there and stuff, but I just don't concern myself with that. A lot of people that are on the opposite side of things, I've seen a different side of. So what am I supposed to do? Take what you say that person is? Well, maybe I believe you. Maybe that person is exactly what you're saying. But until that person does something wrong to me, which they never have in the 13 years I've known them, then I don't really, that's your business. And also, when I hear details of the story, and I'm kind of like, you're both grown-ups and you could have done better.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think both of you could have done better. How about that? And how about, since I'm friends with him, I tell him that too. You know what I mean?
Did you tell him that to his face?
Everybody knows that that's the way I feel. Like, my friends that have gotten in trouble, this isn't just Adam, but like Adam knows, like, we've had a chat, where it's like, yeah, like, clearly that wasn't the way to go on that.
Oh, no one's arguing the other side.
I can't even go into details because I don't know what's legal. My legal team is a Chihuahua and a Min Pin, so I gotta watch myself up
But
here.
you're still out of jail, so they're doing something right.
I can't get sued for my H4N.
No. Which if my shit blew up in the wrong direction like that, if I had a crazy thing where my life fell apart, Mike Favorman style, I would hope that you would come at me in that direction.
Well, that's the other thing with Mike Favorman. A lot of people don't realize that Mike Favorman, that was, again, not me being contrarian. I actually know Mike Favorman. I met him at a Montreal showcase. He's,
How many years ago?
I don't know, like probably 10. Yeah,
Sure.
I'd say 10 or 8, something like that. And I met him at a Montreal showcase. He was really nice to me. If you know Mike Favorman, he's got kind of like that East Coast vibe, that kind of what you would assume is going to be homophobic. I don't know if he's from the East Coast, or do you know where he's from? Or
I don't know where he's from, but that's definitely his vibe, is like that New Yorker guy that doesn't give a shit what you think, but he's got opinions.
Yeah, like and so, you would assume that he'd be homophobic or that kind of, on look, I'm saying, but he was always very nice to me. And I know that different women have had their, run-ins with him, but as far as like some of the women I know say that, he's given them rides home and he's not creepy at all and he was great with them. And so am I supposed to completely ignore the person that I know because you saw a different side of them? And especially since that different side was just like it was basically a tongue lashing.
Yeah.
And
Well, I started telling you my opinion on the whole Mike Favorman thing, which is, yes, he said shitty things, but it's not illegal to say shitty things.
that's exactly what it is. It doesn't mean the guy shouldn't work anymore. He said some shitty things. That's exactly what it is. Thank you.
Yeah, and so when you talk to him directly, be advised. He said shitty things in the past. He'll probably say shitty things in the future. He probably said shitty things before that comment. Like, there's no way that didn't happen. But that's not like, well, we should probably try to get him off this earth then. Like, that is crazy.
Yeah, or make it so he just can't work altogether.
Yeah,
like,
no, that's not.
just for words. I mean,
Yeah.
like that one wasn't even alleged sexual assault or anything. It was just words. It all happened over a computer or over a phone. So
Nobody, and in no place in any of that was he threatening to hurt a human being in any way. It was just, I'm going to make you feel bad.
yeah, that's exactly what it was. So, but all of a sudden, I'm supposed to treat this person like I haven't known a nice side of him for 8 years. And granted, the 8 years, like I don't know where he's from. Like I know him, like I know a lot of comics, you know. But with him and certain guys, and girls that are really comics, you instantly feel a friendship with them. In a lot of cases, when you're both comics and you meet, you know, it's just like
Yeah, there's a weird bond. I don't know what exactly it is in the air, but you can even tell them apart from when you're in a room full of people.
And that's where we go back to Tamra in a sense. And this isn't me being insulting, but I didn't get that feeling off of him from the first time I met him. I just, you know, he's a casual, and even having him on the podcast seemed like a good idea until I realized I was going to be talking to his representative the entire time. And then I
Yeah.
was like, well, now we can't really get into anything too, because it's all supposed to be like roses and whatever as far as you're trying to make it, you know?
Yeah, and I've told you that about myself, where I have a PR representative that goes out and does my open mics for me.
Yeah, but I get that. I get that to a certain degree with people, but I just, you know, like
But
when
that's not what podcasts are about, or what friendships are about.
and especially when people talk to me, because my podcast is obviously different from a lot of the podcasts, just in the way that I go at things.
No, because that's what the conversations you want to have off the stage. Right? Am I correct in that?
Yeah, pretty much all the
All right.
time, this is the way I like talking. You know, I don't want to. Well, I'm lying. There's a lot of like regular people. I keep the conversation very. You can't get a read off. I'll listen to everything they have to say and not chime in with an opinion in a lot of cases because I just feel like you're a regular person. You'd never get it.
You can't handle an opinion of this level.
And you know, and laughing at things that other people find really tragic in some cases, or you know, just deplorable. I mean, like I can laugh at all that stuff, and if I'm with another comic, most comics, no matter how squeaky clean they are on stage, if you give them a good, edgy, silly, we're having fun in the moment.
Oh,
quip,
yeah.
they'll go for it. They're not going to tell you're inappropriate.
Oh,
or
if you give a good pitch, I don't care what color the ball is. I'm going to go for it. I'm
Oh,
going to
yeah.
aim for the fences.
Yeah, that's most comics, so that's why I don't mind talking to them. With Tamara, it always felt like, you know, stilted and like, what are we doing here?
Like talking to a Mormon?
No. One of my best friends was raised Mormon, and that dirty bitch.
I was raised Mormon, and I'm not that dirty bitch, but I'll say some dirty things.
Oh yeah, no, I know you're pretty unchristian in your behavior at times, or in your words at times.
In my everything. I'm not a Christian person. I would not say that about myself. I don't believe in Christ. I was just raised Mormon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've given that up. Have I alphaed this conversation? too
No,
much?
no.
Okay.
Well, the conversation is already what it is, you know. Like
Yeah.
we talked about Tamara, and that was cool. And then there's the, you know, just to wrap everybody up on the farmer effect, so that you never have to hear this again. A lot of people didn't. Well,
There was some kind of Instagram thing that happened today with her, correct?
no. Maybe I was that today. I get my days
It
confused.
was either today or yesterday.
I think it all happened yesterday, and then today I woke
Okay.
up, and her I did block on everything just because I don't I don't even consider her to be a comic. So what she didn't get was it wasn't me arguing with you. I was telling you that if you're going to call yourself a comic, either get to work or get gone. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Mhm.
and if you're going to stick around, just don't be around me, or don't, you know, we don't need to talk. We don't need to, we'll never get a hug and a selfie. That doesn't need to happen. Let's just stay away from each other. You're on the scene, quote unquote. I'm on the scene. We don't need to, our paths don't need to cross. And I feel like that with every one of these. Like Lila is another one, and I know people would get mad at me because she has spina bifida, and I'm supposed to be extra nice about that. But I'm sorry. You know, you need to turn that spina bifida into an act, into something people want to watch, instead of just hanging out, hugging everybody at the Comedy Store and taking selfies. Like, that's annoying. Especially one day, Lila asked me to take a picture of her and one of her friends. And I felt like, I don't know what the fuck you think I'm doing here, but
You should say I'm at work right now.
yeah.
The way I called comedy work earlier on accident.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, so then that happened. And I hate when people turn it into a male female thing when they're like, you would talk to a woman like that? Like what? Like an equal?
Yeah, I don't even consider that when I put a sentence together.
Yeah.
It's never like, I better soften this up.
Yeah, like I have the nerve to talk this way to a woman. Why? Because, I mean, and I don't say anything disrespectful to them. It's not like I tell them they belong in kitchens or they're like, like the way people say that, it's like I'm not supposed to treat them like an equal, but that's supposedly where where we want to be.
But we also have to treat them extra cautious.
That's the thing. I'm supposed to value your opinion extra because you're a woman. I'm supposed to suddenly be like, no, I didn't mean that. You're a woman, and I should change my behavior completely. You're here to tell me what's appropriate and what's not.
I don't even understand how the thought process comes where it's like, my opinion is so much more important than everyone else's that the world needs to adjust to it.
And men don't even do that to each other. Even though they say that we do that all the time, that's not the way men work. When women say that, it's like you don't know how men work. Like, because it's not, like, nobody would ever get anything done if we all just listened to each other all the time. If nobody ever...
Well, that's the reason we have leaders is because they can
Yeah.
override people's
Exactly. If nobody ever
opinions.
took the back seat, if nobody ever stepped down, then it would all be just all of us fighting all the time. Too
Yeah,
many
if-
chefs.
No matter how we voted, everyone's opinion gets counted.
Yeah, everybody's just the same.
That's true. Nothing would move forward then.
So, I'm tired of these people trying to hide behind different things. Like, that was my point for, like, the farmers of the world, is just stop being in the way. Like, the rest of us are really trying to get somewhere. There's so many comics right now that aren't really comics that are clogging up not only the
Is it more
open
now than
mics-
ever?
Yes. Not only the open mics, they're also clogging up the showcases, too. And it's kind of like, I get it. Maybe you have a look or something like that. But turn that into an act and then bring that back instead of wasting spots. In a lot of cases, wasting opportunities for yourself.
If these people started turning it around and they started doing a lot of spots and they started becoming, like, putting together an act, would you change your opinion?
Oh, yeah, eventually I'd respect them. But, that doesn't mean I want to be friends with them. Like, Lauren Farmer just doesn't seem like the kind of person that I want to be friends with. That's just the long and short of it. I felt that way from when I first met her because, like, she was right away commenting on my stuff, acting like we were friends, and then she would, like, hug me when it's like we don't know each other, but I was not trying to be, like, an asshole and be like, I don't want to hug you, or, like, because, she's not a gross girl or anything, but just, I feel like that a lot of times when people hug me and there's no feeling in it, I'd rather us just not touch. We don't know each other. I hug a lot of people, but it's because I have a lot of history with a lot of people on the comedy scene. And then, like I said earlier, some people it's just because they're comics, and I right away feel that bond with them. And I'm like, yes, I like seeing you.
Yeah.
My family's in Arizona. I've got a lot of love to give. Why don't we hug it out?
No, I'm definitely a hugger.
Yeah,
but
I
there's
hug
definitely
you all the
comics
time.
I've known for years that I've never even thought to hug because we don't have that bond. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's unfair for me to say that Tony Hinchcliffe is one of those guys. We've never hugged. It wouldn't shock me if we never hug in the future, and I don't think he's offended by that because that's just the fact. Is that I don't think we have that bond. It's not that we haven't tried. It's just never happened.
Yeah, me and Tony Hinchcliffe are fist bump guys, and I've known him since.
Yeah, I
he
fist
first
bump. I
got
say
here.
hi. I respect him. He's very respectful to me.
Yeah, I like Tony. I know not
But
everybody.
we're also
meshes
not
with his
confused with
personality.
where our boundaries are with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of us has really tried to cross the boundary because there's no reason to.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that happens a lot with me because a lot of people do know me, and so a lot of posers, for lack of a better term, will try to horn in and just suddenly hug me, and then they have the nerve to get mad at me when I don't just go along with it. Like if I am standoffish or whatever, they'll make it seem like I'm an asshole. It's like, no, I'm not an asshole. I just don't know you, and I'm not going to pretend to be your best friend because you're trying to make appearances at a comedy club because you want an excuse to be in spots that you shouldn't be in, as far as there's different areas of the Comedy Store where it is like comics. And you're
Yeah.
not supposed to be there if you're just groupie type. And I'm not saying groupie in the way like having sex with people, but a lot of these people do basically amount to groupies. Like they just like hanging out. They just like being around the energy. They're not doing anything.
I can even say that, like, I've walked through. Should we even say where the areas are? I like. I walked through the kitchen of the Comedy Store,
Uh-huh.
and there was a huge A-list celebrity comedian there, and it was like, oh, cool, he's here to avoid all of the hubbub of outside, and I also know where my level is. Where I'm like, I better just keep walking.
Well, that's exactly what
Yeah,
you do
because-
when you see the big comics. Instead, these posers will ask them for selfies. And that's another way you know that, this person isn't for real. Like, they're not a real comic. They're bothering another comic for a selfie when you know that this comic, like you knew just by seeing that A-list comic, that they were back there to be away from everything. Everybody knows that sometimes you go places to hide.
Yeah. Well, I would hope that one day in my wildest of dreams, I'm of that person's level, and I need a time and a space to just get my head together, and that exact same spot where that person's standing is there for me.
Well, in my opinion, that's the reason I don't ask comics for pictures, even comics that I like for a long time, or I don't ask them for pictures. I'll ask my friends for pictures, but that's the reason I don't ask like big comics for pictures, is because I feel like we're both going to be in the business forever. One day we'll end up crossing paths and being friends, and we'll take an honest, legit picture. Like
Yeah.
hanging out, doing something, and now we got a picture.
Yeah.
And it's even more real and genuine because it's not me showing off for my friends. Like, look, I met so and so. This is like, just me living my life and being like, this is my friend, and we took a picture. I don't even feel that way about people. Like when it comes to being starstruck, and there's two people that I would like to meet in my life, and that is Oprah Winfrey and Pamela Anderson.
Almost the same exact person.
And those two bitches I will fan out for.
They're also not comics. They're not in the same circle you are. You're not going to take that fan picture and then run into them a week later.
Yeah, and also, yeah, you're right. It is like it would be an actual moment to remember, especially Oprah, because Pamela Anderson. I feel like I could meet her if I want to.
You can find a way.
Yeah, I feel like it's not, but Oprah, that's definitely a tougher road.
That is a tougher road. I've gotten 3 celebrity pictures in my life, and 2 of them, that person asked me to do it. One of them, I actually was just like, no, I really want this one. This is my number 1 comic of all time.
Who was it's Chappelle?
Chappelle.
Yeah.
Chappelle was my number 1 of all time, and my friend happened to be a friend of his. And so he was like, hey, do you want to meet him? And I was like, yeah. And then he was like, hey, man, it's my friend Aaron. He'd love to get a picture with you. So my friend even did the asking for me, and I took the picture, and I've seen him probably 25 times since. And I've never done any more than just look at him and maybe nod my head, because why? He doesn't need me to say hi to him every time.
See, but that's also where I go back to just what's right for me is right for me, and what's right for you is right for you. That's another one of those situations. Like, I know a lot of my friends that have done that with, like, Martin, or there's different, and I myself, I did it to a degree, but it's just a comic that most people wouldn't have been that psyched about.
Because I know Jamar loves Martin so much, I was rooting for him to get a picture
Oh,
with
yeah.
Martin, because that means a lot to him.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I get it for people. Like, when people do it, I just choose not to because of that. But when other comics do it, the people I have a problem with are the people that do it with all the comics, and it's just to make it look like.
Oh, yeah, they want a scrapbook. They want a scrapbook of comedians instead of becoming something worth being in that scrapbook on the other side.
Yeah, and at home, they're lying to their family in a lot of cases. A lot of times, that's what they're present. Like, if you read the captions that they'll put on there, that's why I posted. It got a bunch of likes when I posted that, I hate when comics post pictures and they're like, just another day at the office, hanging out with some big comic.
And that's when I posted Chappelle. My
Yeah,
picture of
that's
me
how
and
I knew it was
Yeah,
Chappelle.
exactly.
Yeah, you were like, me and Dave don't agree, or me and Dave
Yeah.
are offended.
I said Dave is a fan. I didn't even put myself in it. Like, as if he texted me like, tell Ty. because it's not. I was like, I'm guilty of this behavior, but at the same time, it's also not this crazy string of behavior where like, oh, you're not hanging out at the Comedy Store because you're learning how to become a better comic. You're here because you're just a super fan of comedy, and you're dabbling in comedy just to support your fandom.
That's really what it is with most of or a lot of these people now. Some of them can grow into comics if they really want to, but it's about putting in work, and it's not about being where, the place to be seen. That's not what comedy is about. Comedy is a lot of doing crappy open mics. Like, last night, Darren Carter invited me to feature for him at the Irvine Improv.
You were starting the party for the party starter?
Yeah, I was the pre-party starter. And so I did that, and then immediately after I went to the Liquid Zoo, which everybody knows is kind of a dive in Van Nuys.
If you don't know, you're being very polite to the Liquid Zoo. It is a dive. It is not kind of. It's
Yeah,
just,
it's a dive,
yeah.
and it's not. But that's putting in the work, and it's
Yeah.
not glamorous. And if you're lucky, you get to see some of the other comics. Like last night, I got to see a few friends I hadn't seen in a while. Like Mark Fry was standing outside, and James Uloth, and a few other. Rich Slayton was out there, who I always love seeing. Rich, he's another one that pushes me a lot. Like, as far as if I make a statement, he'll ask me to explain it or why I feel that way. And,
Fair.
yeah, he'll grill me a little bit, but I'm great with it. I don't mind. See,
You love a good argument
and I don't even mind
almost more
just-
than an argument.
I don't even mind just a quick, like, probe. As bad as that sounds, but I don't mind when people just are like, oh, was wondering about that, especially if we're friends and I know you've got an open mind to at least hearing. Now, I'm not saying your mind has to be changed, just open to hearing what another person's opinion is. If you're genuinely asking, I don't mind answering.
If somebody's listening to this and doesn't know Ty, I would like to say that when you ask Ty about it, he's very open to answer, but he's not interested in you trying to change his mind.
Not at all. That's where I get like,
And
what are you
that's
trying
where
to
a lot
do?
of this anger comes from, I think, is when people are like, oh, not only are you wrong, you have to think like me. You're like, no, you can think I'm wrong, but you don't have to think that you're right.
And I can even be wrong for your thinking. That's the thing with voting. Like, different people think different ways. So, like, where you are financially and what's important to you will sway what interest or who
Yeah.
you vote for. That's just the way it works. So sometimes I'll hear somebody and they'll give me all of the reasons, and I'll be in my head like, okay, that makes perfect sense to me that you're voting for that person, but I still feel this way because those issues that you just brought up, even though they're the most important to you, maybe don't even make the list for me or aren't that important.
It's a matter of filling priority.
Yeah.
For instance, my dad voted against Obamacare. I needed Obamacare to try to have medical coverage.
Mhm.
And you're like, it makes sense that I'm interested in it. It also makes sense that my dad's not because it affects his medicine.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yeah, my dad and I are on two separate parts of the table, but it's understandable why either of us are on the table.
Yeah, and I can completely hear people tell me all of that and feel like, it's logical and is great for them and not feel compelled at all to try to change their opinion.
Mhm.
That's why I get annoyed when people try to do it to me, because I'm like, okay, I'm not trying to change your opinion, so I don't know why you're dogging me, because that's what they'll do a lot. They'll turn from like just talking to you like, oh, this is so stupid, how could you possibly, and it's like,
I've
you
seen
realize you're
that.
talking to a human being right now?
Yeah, no, and that's why I thought it would be a good place on your podcast to say that, because people who don't know you as well as I do, sometimes they just need a little better understanding, and I feel like I have that enough to say that.
Oh, yeah, well, definitely. You get to hear a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
more than a lot of people.
Oh, no, absolutely. But I'm just saying, like, there's a way to talk. Everyone has a different way that they want to be talked to or talked with. And that is, and I feel like you're unique in the sense that what you say is so opinionated, someone else feels like they can come at it with equal opinionation. And you're like, no. He wants you to just hear out this opinion fully.
See, but that's...
And then you can hear out their opinion fully, too.
Yes.
But at no point do you feel like, and when we walk away, we'll be changed into each other.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, that's why it's a lot of times I hang out with other ethnic people rather than white people. Because in a lot of cases, ethnic people can go at it. We can yell at each other a little bit and then, like, go right back to being friends, and that's done and it's over and it doesn't have to turn into a whole thing. Like, that's part of why it gets on my nerves when people try to make it seem like I'm attacking women, because it's like, no, it's just that she's a white woman and she's used to people humoring her. She's used to people pretending that she actually has a point right now when really she doesn't have a point. And if she does have a point, it's a point for her. It's not a point for me. It doesn't mean that I suddenly have to subscribe. And once you start using feminine pronouns and people start getting real uncomfortable with that, they start getting like, well, you're a man and you're supposed to just let a woman tell you what to do. Technically, you were supposed to get married to a woman, and a woman was supposed to tell you what to do for the rest of your life. Like, that's the problem with me in a lot of cases, is like society has this place that even though I'm a gay man, they still see me as I'm supposed to just be a man and be a man in that way. Well, if I can see both sides, and I've seen women pull some pretty manipulative shit, just like with men. Like, my thing with men is a lot of times you'll notice women will dismiss their men as being stupid. Like,
Yeah.
he'll do something he shouldn't do. And then she'll be like, well, he's just stupid anyway.
You're
You know
literally
how men are."
describing every sitcom episode ever.
Well, yeah, but like with me, since I am a man, I'm always like, no, I know you're not that stupid. I'm a man too. We think more than that, but it's easier
Yeah,
to
we
get away
manipulate
with.
in different ways.
Yeah, and exactly, it's easier to get away with it if you just pretend to be stupid. Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. Okay, now I'm in trouble. All right, I'll put my head down and I'll. Does the other person know that he knows exactly what he was doing.
That's literally the Cosby bit where he's a genius, and it's like, oh, he didn't do this, so I'm going to do it, and it's like it was his genius plan the whole time.
I don't.
I
know
really
Cosby very-
simplified a whole 20-minute bit.
No, you know what the best thing about Cosby coming out as a rapist or people accusing him of being a rapist was I never liked Cosby to begin with, so I could.
It's like, finally, everybody agrees
Yeah,
with
I
me.
didn't have to have people look at me weird anymore. Once it was like, well, I got to be the one that was like, well, you know.
You're the happiest person on that day for the wrongest reason.
Oh yeah, just for my own, so I don't have to have people judge me. Because I remember people would ask me, and I don't lie to people. So when people would ask me, what I thought about Cosby, and I tell them that I really wasn't into him, then they'd again same kind of thing, like try to convince me of why I was supposed to think he was funny, and I'd just be like, no, I get it. I get that for you he's funny, but
Yeah.
for me he's just not. So.
Sure. I almost feel like I'm going to have to defend why I would even use Cosby as a reference later. Someone on the internet's going to find me and say something.
Oh.
Which, of course, everything he did is horrible and deplorable. But his influence on the comedy community for those 40 years before all of that came to light is still very impactful. You're stopping me.
Oh no, I'm just trying because, like, even though I don't like his comedy, and I know people are gonna get mad at me, I still don't necessarily believe everything I've heard about him. Like, to a certain degree, yeah, but like, there's a few that seem like I actually listened to that shit. I actually did pay attention to it, and some of it just didn't add up for regular people thinking. And I know we're always supposed to side with the victim and whatever, but. Never mind. Let's not even do this. It's
I was
too
like,
late in the
oh,
podcast.
are we starting the
to
next
really-
episode now?
Yeah, it's
Were
too
you?
late.
I was worried when you first started this podcast that you weren't going to have enough Facebook drama to fill every episode, but you're doing a great job of filling it 2-3 times a week.
The worst part is I'm not trying at all.
It's just like before you had a podcast, when people would talk about you, they would go straight to your Facebook posts. And now you have a podcast just explaining your Facebook posts.
Yeah, and I'm gonna upload this. This is going up tomorrow,
It's
or
gonna be
maybe
fun.
even tonight. I'm just so tired of people lying about me. It's great that I have a podcast because now I have a platform for it. But I hate that people lie about me. And, in a lot of cases, come to me in a disrespectful way and then paint me as the disrespectful one. And it's like, no, that's not fair, and you don't get to do that. Like, that's not okay to do that to me. And especially when you're doing things that I have receipts for. I mean, like, I'm going to literally post these, and they're going to be able to see because I left the name from the bottom of one page
Yeah.
on the top of the other so they can see exactly what and everybody can count it and know that my two winners were the two winners.
Well, I mean, I guess to wrap this up, has your podcast helped you resolve any of these issues with any of these people?
Not yet, but I think eventually it will. I think that if you listen to my podcast, even me and Tamara, we're not sworn enemies. Technically, I guess it's a good thing because now from here on out, he knows how I feel about him. I always will see him as a bringer. I don't care what he does. That's what he is to me, as a bringer. I don't think that his stuff has any soul in it right now. Maybe one day it will. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But I just don't see him as real. And I don't think he came at me in a respectful way. I really don't respect him for lying about me. And so there's no way I would do anything that would help propel him or put him on a stage. And I don't see any other reason why he should have to share a stage with me. So why would I do it for Roast Battle?
All right, I think that's the episode, man.
I appreciate you, Aaron Michael Marsh. Where
I
can people
appreciate you,
find
Ty.
you?
People can find me Aaron M. Marsh on Twitter or Aaron Marsh Comic on Instagram and Snapchat.
Aaron M. Marsh on Twitter and
Aaron Marsh Comic on Instagram and Snapchat.
Okay, and you guys know where to find me, americasfavoritefag.com. You can also find me on Facebook. Boy, can you find me on Facebook. You can also find me on Twitter. Find me however you find me. How about we do it that way? I love all of you for listening. I think this podcast also showed people how quickly I go from being bothered right back to unbothered.
Right, yeah.
Unbothered with Ty Rivera, everybody. Thank you for listening.